Dan Perry, World Affairs Analyst, is joining us from Tel Aviv at this point in time. Dan, appreciate you joining us. Well, 90% of what this deal constitutes has been agreed upon by Hamas. But considering the history that both the parties have had with each other, which is predominantly of distrust, how certain can the world be that this is going to lead to lasting peace?
In no way certain, not at all certain, and completely and totally uncertain. This talk of 90%, basically nonsense. It comes down to whether Hamas agrees to the 1 out of 20 points that calls upon it to disarm. There are plenty of people who will swear that there's no way that can happen because no jihadist group has ever agreed to disarm, and that runs counter to their fanatical DNA. And I can't dispute that. It would be remarkable if Hamas really did agree. On the other hand, the circumstances are remarkable. Gaza has been laid waste. So many people have died. Despite the claims of genocide by Israel, the genocide could end in a split second if they agreed. So it's not exactly genocide. And yet they're taking their time. I cannot predict if they will, and I think much depends on the degree to which the Arab countries, and in particular Qatar, will lay down a law with what remains of Hamas and will force them to. Remember, Qatar just received a very significant sweetheart deal from the Americans, codifying a sort of NATO-like commitment to Qatar's defense. And I have to think that was down payment for precisely this moment when Qatar has to twist arms with Hamas to the breaking point and get them to agree to that one thing. The other aspects of the 20 points are all important, of course. And it's true that they may be such that agreement can be reached because Hamas does agree to hand over the formal keys of Gaza to a technocratic Palestinian government. They agree, to the Israeli pullout. They agree to the gradual Israeli pullout. They agree that all the hostages will be released in one go during the first 48 or 72 hours. Meaning that they have to put their faith in implementation. But the one thing that is critical is disarming. One can be extremely skeptical, and without that, there's no deal. Israel, I am sure. Of this, we can be certain. If they don't agree to that one thing, then there is no deal. And that's when Trump's texted reply to CNN today becomes relevant, where he says they will be obliterated. Israel will go into Gaza City and the rest of Gaza formally occupied, probably establish a military administration, over 2 million Palestinians. That is a terrible scenario for everyone. It'll end the war for Gazans, but it'll be under Israeli occupation. There will be a prolonged insurgency with the remnants of Hamas. There will be more death, for sure, and more isolation for Israel. I have no doubt that elements in Hamas want precisely this. October 7th and its diabolical savagery was engineered to bring about this response by Israel, and I think much of that Israeli response was ill-advised and there were better alternatives, but it's understandable. And in a way, Israel walked into Hamas's trap, and I think the full walking into the full trap will be if they establish a formal and prolonged military occupation of all of the Strip.
Do you really think that this is, once in a lifetime opportunity between Israel and Palestine?
No, I don't think this necessarily leads very quickly to a two-state solution. Not at all. This is an important opportunity to end the war, and that's achievement enough. It's certainly positive if Hamas is removed as an armed militia undermining the sovereignty of a potential Palestine. So the removal of Hamas, the weakening of Hamas, the weakening of the axis of resistance, so-called Iranian-backed axis of resistance, all these militias all over the region that have been somewhat thrashed in some cases, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, all this is good. But when you look at the talk of a two-state solution, the basic reality that the Palestinian minimal demand doesn't reach the maximal Israeli give, it remains. I have difficulty seeing how, the Palestinians are awarded half of the city of Jerusalem, which they claim, and it may seem like a reasonable claim, except these are countries that will need to have a border. because there will be a lot of distrust for many decades. I can have a board in the middle of the city. There are many details that make it seem extremely, extremely unlikely. On the other hand, there's also an imperative for Israel itself. In Israel, there is opposition to a full pullout from the West Bank, let's say, uh, because the West Bank is highly strategic territory that surrounds Jerusalem on three sides, and from which you can see the high-rise towers of Tel Aviv. And if that area were to be taken over by Hamas or by ISIS, that's bad. How to assure that it wouldn't be is extremely difficult to conceive. So they claim they need it for strategic defense purposes, and that claim is not ridiculous. On the other hand, the combined territory of Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank has 15 million people, equally divided between Jews and Arabs, almost exactly. And if Israel insists on keeping it, for this legitimate strategic reason that I cite, basically its smallness, well, keeping the Palestinians disenfranchised is not a long-term solution, and the day is not far away when the Palestinians will demand, with world support, that Israel annex these areas formally and give them citizenship so they can vote in Israeli elections. And the road from that to a democratic takeover of Israel by the Palestinians and a renaming of it Palestine is also pretty visible. So there's no great options here. And this, notion that it's just obvious that it should be a two-state solution and surely they can agree on terms and anything else is crazy, is something I'd like to see happen for sure, because both sides deserve their aspirations and to live in peace and prosperity, of course. But it's also extremely naive. Very, very, very naive. And the idea that there must be a Palestinian state also is somewhat counterfactual to history. Plenty of groups in the world that have more of a claim to nationhood don't have a state. The Kurds don't have a state. The Basques and Catalans don't have a state. All kinds of groups all over the Middle East don't have a state. The Palestinians didn't know they were a people until about 1960. You'll find no reference to it in history. So is there some other way to disentangle the Jews from the Arabs in the Holy Land without endangering Israel, but without oppressing the Palestinian Arabs is yet to be seen. I favor the two-state solution myself, but I'm not starry-eyed about its prospects, nor about the degree to which it will be difficult to agree on the details. And the details in this case are where the devil lies. They're not nuanced, they're critical.
Dan, of course, we all want this peace plan to be executed and this conflict to halt. But there are always elements, being produced out of countries like Iran, proxies that have also, been an impediment to this peace process. What should be the long-term plan in tackling those?
I felt it was a mistake by the U.S. To not strike while the iron was hot with Iran after the 12-day war. When Iran was pretty desperate, the regime was quite relieved to have somehow survived and had been schooled pretty seriously by the fact that its airspace was basically completely available to the Israeli Air Force for that entire time. And of course, their nuclear program and missile program had been badly set back. So there should have been a strong arming of Iran at that point to agree to not only end the nuclear program, but to also end their project of spreading chaos throughout the Arab Middle East with these militias. And it should have been clear that the Arab world views that entire enterprise as completely illegitimate. There is no reason whatsoever that there should be a Hezbollah in Lebanon undermining Lebanon. Now, the Lebanese government, somewhat emboldened by the weakening of Hezbollah during that element of the war a year ago, is now openly saying they want to disarm Hezbollah, but they're going to need help. So the long-term solution, if you want normalcy in the Middle East, if you want, for example, Israel to take the risks, huge risks, entailed in pulling out of the West Bank and allowing even a demilitarized Palestinian state, these militias have to go. Hamas has to go. Islamic Jihad has to go. Hezbollah has to go. The Houthis, for that matter, the Shiite militias in Iraq that are undermining Iraq, again, at the behest of Iran, have to go. The region has accepted complete and total craziness for a very, very, very long time. And, not that anything was worth the scale of destruction that we've seen in Gaza, and of course the horrors of October 7th in Israel. But some good can come out of this in the sense that maybe some of that craziness can end. And by the way, uh, Israel will have to let go of some nonsense as well. I mean, the settlements deep inside the West Bank, if that continues, then Israel should be made to understand that they're going to have to annex the West Bank and give the Palestinians, citizenship.
We've run out of time, but I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for those